Hey, everybody. We are about to start. I'm just doing a sound check. So I'm waiting for my person to tell me that everything is working okay. But this is Angel. We're here for the adrenal workshop. So hopefully, okay. I'm hearing YouTube is good. I'm waiting for Facebook and um, LinkedIn. And we'll be starting in just a second. Okay. LinkedIn is good. Now we're waiting on Facebook. Hey, everybody, this is Angel. Just waiting to make sure everybody can hear me, and then I'm going to get started. I had tech problems earlier today. Okay, so I'm ready to get started. This is Angel Hill with Alternative Health with Angel, and tonight we're going to be talking about tired of being tired and how to get some energy. So I'm going to show my screen now, and we will get started. There we go. Hold on. There we go. All righty. Can everybody see my screen? So I'm going to get started. All right. Tired of being tired. Tips on increasing energy. So tonight, we are going to give you some really good tips that you can start tomorrow to start getting more energy. But I first need to tell you that I'm not a medical doctor nor a psychiatrist, and that the views of this workshop are my own. Don't make any changes with your medications or supplements without speaking to your healthcare provider. And these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. So I am Angel Hill. I have more than a dozen years in alternative health. I have lots of degrees and certifications. You can look at those on LinkedIn if you want. I am the owner of the Alternative Health with Angel. It's an online platform, and you can find me on socials at Alt Health Angel. So that's who I am. But you are here today because you are not feeling like the best version of yourself. You may have brain fog, you may have fatigue, you may be getting easily overwhelmed or have anxiety. This is all stuff I hear every day. You may have gone to your doctor and been told nothing is wrong, or heard that your symptoms are normal or just in your head. Well, they are not normal. They are common. But it doesn't mean that you're stuck with them. Okay. This is the thing. Just because somebody says, oh, this is normal doesn't mean you need to do that. So, what exactly is adrenal fatigue? I do need to mention that it's also known as HPA axis dysfunction, and HPA stands for hypothalamus pituitary axis. That's a lot of words. So for this presentation, I will be using adrenal fatigue. However, that is the correct term to use, that HPA axis. Anyway, it's really well known to alternative medicine practitioners. And according to their theories, the symptoms develop as a result of chronic stress. And the answer lies in supporting the adrenals. And if you look at my little picture here, the adrenals are right on top of our kidneys. It's right there. It's a little like they're little mushrooms. And they do all kinds of amazing things. But we're going to mainly talk about the stress hormone that they produce, which is cortisol. And cortisol has a lot to do with belly fat. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit too. But help is here. When you start really supporting your adrenals and making a few lifestyle changes, nutrition changes, and sometimes a diet supplementary change, you can really produce profound improvements in your symptoms and quickly. And quickly is what I'm all about. I'm about helping people get better as quickly as they can and get some more energy. And then, we can work on other things that they need. But when I say quickly, I've had people sometimes in just 1 week be able to notice a significant difference in their energy. So, what really happens? Well, stress becomes chronic. You get in that fight or flight response. It never turns off. And we never get into a healing mode, which for a lot of us, we're not even well. So, we're not even healing when we're sleeping. And so the body remains stuck in that high alert survival state. It's terrible. Nobody wants that. And so we have all these modern stressors like work deadlines, financial challenges, poor sleep, processed foods. A lot of people have food sensitivities or imbalanced guts, which cause inflammation and they don't even know that's happening. So it keeps us in this continued stress response with this relentless demand for hormones, especially cortisol, to lower the inflammation. Now, cortisol is the most important adrenal hormone in terms of helping our body adapt to stress. And as we said, it's anti inflammatory. It also regulates blood sugar, supports metabolism, controls body fat. We're going to talk about that, and protects us from infections. So notice I said body fat, that stubborn belly fat that you have, that's more than likely from cortisol. So we get in those stressed out states, and our body is still stuck in those because it thinks it's 1,000 years ago. So it thinks that we're about to starve. So it has to put this belly fat here so that we have stores to pull from. And you say, but we never pull from those stores. Does that make sense? And so you think, well, I'm not starving. I'm feeding myself. Why doesn't my body know that? Well, unfortunately, most of us are eating frankenfoods. We are not eating real food. And so our body doesn't recognize it. It doesn't recognize this unnutrients, non-nutrient food that we're eating. So I'm going to throw one slide up. I'm not going to go off on this too much, but I did want to throw this one slide up about True Food Tech. It's a great website. You can click on it and it shows you things that are actually in the grocery store and where they are on the ultra food processed line, how processed they really are. I'm going to leave it here just a sec so you can grab that. The other thing is just pay attention to what your ancestors would have eaten. I can tell you what they wouldn't have eaten. They wouldn't have eaten food through a window. You wouldn't drive up to a window and they wouldn't have taken food out of it and eaten it out that. So think about that for a second. I'll leave it there for just a minute. Okay. Um, So, what can you do? Well, first off, I recommend making one adjustment at a time. You can't change everything all at once. When you try to do that, you always fail. So, make one adjustment at a time. Be willing to take action, though. Don't just say you want to do it. Be really willing to take action because you want to feel better. And don't let perfection get in the way. You're going to have slip ups. We all do. You just start doing it again. You know what I mean? You get back where you need to be. So here we go. First tip of the day, drink water. That seems really basic, but you would be amazed how much it helps. First off, I want you to think about how dehydrated we are. We spend hours about sleeping at night with not drinking. And so we're literally needing water when we wake up in the morning. I say down 8 ounces, that's on the really low end. I'd love to have you drink 16 ounces of water in the morning before drinking or eating anything else. And adding to that water, you want to squeeze a lemon and a quarter teaspoon of salt. That sea salt helps reduce cortisol and adrenaline because it keeps us from being dehydrated. And you got to get quality sea salt though. Um, and adding lemon to your water is a great way to alkalize your body. Now, many people with adrenal fatigue have highly acidic bodies. And so this elixir can actually help a lot alkaline you. Now, my favorite is that real salt. I have a picture of it right there, but you can use Pink Himalayan, Celtic, whatever works for you. And this is so easy. And that's why I make it my first thing that I tell people in my natural health memberships. It seems so simple, but clients like consistently let me know how useful it is. So you can start this tomorrow. Like it's so easy. Now, next, this is if you want a bonus points. Okay. This next one is electrolytes. If you want to be an overachiever, that next glass of water, add some electrolytes to it. Okay. Most people know that water and electrolytes are necessary for optimal hydration, but the truth is, hydration just scratches the surface of what electrolytes really can do. The body is 60% water, meaning nearly every cell contains electrolytes. Unfortunately, as you can see, many things here diminish the electrolytes, like high blood pressure medicine, exercise, alcohol, more than 2 cups of coffee a day, and stress, which is, by the way, we'll see in every category. It underlies everything. And without replenishing these electrolytes, we get these imbalances that cause things like low energy levels, brain fog, headaches, muscle cramps, a lot like those adrenal symptoms. So, very similar stuff going on here. But when we have good electrolytes in us, when we get those increased, we have healthy brain function, improve exercise performance, our blood pressure gets better, help our mood, immune system, hormone levels. Now, I want you to think about the next time you look at an electrolyte, really pay attention to what you're getting. A lot of electrolytes contain low quality, highly refined salt that's been overly processed, and that takes away the trace mineral content. That's the whole reason you need it. So, I like an electrolyte called from Paleo Valley, and it's called Essential Electrolytes. That's Paleo Valley. I do not have any affiliation with them except that I love their electrolytes. But their electrolytes are like full spectrum source of electrolytes and minerals and trace minerals. And they get it from unprocessed sea salt. And they also put in their organic coconut water, seaweed extract, and seawater for optimal hydration. And they don't put in any added sugar, yet it tastes really good. They have like watermelon, orange, and lemon lime. My favorite is orange. And I like to do it a little differently. So I'll put it instead of water, I'll put it in my protein shake sometimes, gives a little flavor. Or I have like a little almond milk and I'll put it in it. So I get a little protein with my electrolytes. And I also drink water while I'm doing those as well. By the way, minerals are actually a specialty of mine. One of the services offer is hair tissue mineral analysis, HTMA. So if you're interested in that, head over to alternativehealthwithangel.com and you can learn more about that. So now the next thing you want to do, this is really important and something I talk about all the time. It's balance your blood sugar. You want to make sure you get protein for your first meal of the day. And I don't care if your meal is at 8 a.m. or 12 noon. Whenever you eat, make sure you're getting protein. You want about 15 to 30 grams. And the other thing you want to do to balance your blood sugar is avoid liquid sugars. If I had a magic wand, I would declare that everyone must eat protein for their first meal of the day and everyone would stay away from liquid sugars. They don't do anything good for us. Sweet tea, soda, ice cream, sports drinks, pay attention to those sugars. And the reason is this next slide you'll see this is the roller coaster we go on when we don't eat protein for breakfast. That protein sets our insulin levels for the day. And these blood sugar swings lead to a release of our stress hormones, while blood sugar balance provides hormone stability. So we got this difference between roller coaster or just kind of staying there in the middle. Staying there in the middle helps tremendously. And the blood sugar and the adrenals work hand in hand. So it's amazing just by doing this one thing, by drinking some water and getting some protein in the morning can really change it for you. Now, I just want one last note on the blood sugar. A study that was just released in April of this year said that there were significant harmful associations between dietary sugar consumption and 18 endocrine outcomes, 10 cardiovascular outcomes, 7 cancer outcomes, and 10 other outcomes that they detected. It's insane. Now, best-selling author Isabella Wentz, who wrote Hashimoto's Protocol and the Adrenal Transformation Protocol, which you can get in your library, by the way, did a survey of her clients, and she said, like, of all these things that I recommended, what helped the most for your adrenal interventions? And blood sugar balancing and hydration were her first two. It really works. So, inflammation, we talked about a little bit earlier, and that cortisol has to hit it down. And we're going to talk about that in a second as well. But some of the places that the inflammation comes from is sugar, smoking, some undetected things like gut issues and food sensitivities, and then stress, like internal stress. But we also have external stress like pollution, mold, things like that. So this picture here is showing you a little girl, and I love her. She's a little cute little girl we made. But anyway, she's cortisol and she's trying to tap out that inflammation, but she's tired right now. And so she's looking at this and she's saying, what can I do? So what's happening is we're all inflamed. There's this ongoing demand for the cortisol to neutralize the inflammation. But there's so much inflammation that the adrenals can't do it anymore. And so that leads to more inflammation and more adrenal fatigue. So it's this constant cycle. She's about to be worn out. But if there was something you could do that would give you an instant cure for that rush of cortisol you feel when you get stressed, would you do it? Well, mindful breathing is an instant relief that can lower your cortisol levels by 27% and reduce your blood pressure immediately. And basically, I tell people to start with 3 long, slow, deep breaths a day. That's it. By practicing mindful breathing regularly, you literally just you can go to other places after that. Once you start with those 3 breaths, you can work on advanced breathing techniques. I try to start every day with meditation, and whenever I get in the woods, I love to breathe like that. I find that nature helps me be mindful too. So any way you can get, a lot of people feel like running because you're breathing that deep breath with running. That can be a mindful breath as well. Any way you can get it is going to be helpful. Okay, next slide. I'm fixing to ask, apparently, is anybody seeing my slides? Hold on. I'm going to keep talking though until somebody tells me. According to Scientific American Magazine, because of soil depletion, crops grown decades ago were much richer in vitamin minerals than most of us get today. So think about it this way. We start off with a deficit because our soil is depleted, and then we top that off with undetected inflammation, gut issues, and then add on top of that certain medications like antacids and lack of thyroid hormones. So then we get into nutrient deficiencies. Well, these nutrient deficiencies add to the body's stress load, and the stress response depletes these nutrients even more, burning through them at a high rate. So we get this hamster wheel going. And if supplies aren't replenished, the body enters a catabolic state. And what that means is it breaks itself down for nutrients to fuel the adrenals. And consequently, then it ratchets up the stress level even higher. So if we're in this state for a prolonged period of time, we are likely to experience severe nutrient deficiencies as well as make our adrenal dysfunction worse. So, what can we do to help that? All right. So, what to eat? Well, you want to look for unprocessed foods. Think meats, seafood, eggs, vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, those kind of things. Also, don't be afraid of healthy fats like avocados. I love avocados. I eat like one a day. Um, when we eat highly processed foods, what's happening is that we're putting in our body empty calories. And that sends a message to our brain that food is scarce. We're not getting nutrients. It triggers stress and it starts this cycle all over again. So if we give ourselves unprocessed food, food that is close to nature as we can get it, we really, our body understands that food. It takes it in and it can do something with it. But if it's processed or coming out of a window, our body's really not doing much with us. It's giving us calories, but not many nutrients. Now, some things to do for tips for grocery shopping. Um, Save your recipes on Pinterest. I have a dinner board, I have a home salad dressing board, a board, I have all these boards, and I just pop into the Pinterest app and I scroll on something we haven't cooked in a while, and then I add it to my oats. I have a notes app on my phone and I add it in there. And then I take it when it's all in there, I put the grocery list together on a grocery list app I have. By the way, these apps are all free. Um, and so if I have to walk into a store, that helps because I have this on my phone and I tell myself, I'll stick to this list, I'll stick to this list. Now that takes discipline. That's a little hard. So one of the smartest things I've done is to shop on the app. So like instead of going into Target and getting excited all about their new food that's probably not that nutrient dense, I just order on the app what I need, don't order anything else, and they deliver it to my trunk. And I don't have any temptation then. So if you do have to go into a store though, make sure you eat before you go in. You don't want to grocery shop hangry, okay? If you have to go in, grab some nuts or a protein stack, something you being for making decisions while you're in there. I've done that way too many times. Now for the weekdays, I tend to pick meals that are going to be like 30 minutes or less. And I leave my longer recipes for the weekend. I also leave one day empty in my meal planning because we always have leftovers. So that's like leftover night. So some tips for you to kind of get those fresh, good veggies in you. Now sleep. Sleep is where I'm sure you know, okay, yes, Angel, you got to sleep. But while sleep is important, the circadian rhythm is actually more than about sleep. It's about really getting that adrenal function, the mood, the energy back into the cycle of the 24-hour day. Our circadian rhythm runs on that. And what we have done is just turn that upside down. We've become disrupted because we have so many different things happening that we're about to talk about right here. So The biggest thing that disrupts us is artificial light. We make nighttime as bright as daytime, and then we settle down at night and we have our electronics that give us more light into our face. We are in buildings all day long where we never get outside. So our brain really can't figure this out. We other causes that we can have are things like people who work overnight or shift work, people who long-term travel for their jobs in particular, or like long truckers. And then think of travel also like jet lag. That's a significant circadian rhythm disruption. And then some meds like ADHD medication, blood pressure medication, and antidepressants can actually cause a disruption in our sleep. And so what happens is, since this circadian rhythm is highly dependent upon light, an effective way to restore that balance is to get regular exposure to sunlight during the day and limiting that night at night. So cortisol is an adrenal hormone that we want high in the morning and lower at night. And if you look at this chart, that's the way we would want our cortisol to look. Now, if we can get bright light within an hour of waking, it helps us have that high cortisol release in the morning to kickstart our day because that really gets us moving. I like to take like a light jog in the morning or walk around in the morning right as the sun's coming up. That's the perfect time for me because it's not as hot too. But don't wear sunglasses because that just defeats the purpose. You want to get out there and get that light before the sun gets too bad. You don't have to exercise though. You can sit on your porch, just get the light. That's the most important part of this. You get bonus points if you pop outside a couple of times during the day to get that light, even if it's just for a minute or two. So, like maybe mid morning, midday, and mid afternoon. The reason is we have these light receptors in the back of our eyes, and the brain registers at the changing intensity of the natural sunlight throughout the day. So, it needs to know that it's at in the 24-hour cycle. It literally syncs, it downloads where it's at in the middle of the day. And at the end of the day, we want to limit the artificial light. This one is extremely hard for me. I always want to read my phone and everything else. But if you start like maybe 30 minutes before you go to bed, turn off all the lights, maybe have some soft lamps that can help. And blue lights, I'm thinking about getting blue lights in my glasses or blue lenses. They say that's supposed to help too. So there's all these things we can try. And one of the things you want to do is work on a sleep window. Find out what time of night you can go to, say between 9:15 and 9:45. That's the time if you go to bed, you're going to be okay. Like you're going to be able to sleep well. Now, some of you may have experienced times where like you were really, really tired and you get your second wind and then you're up like more and you're getting all this stuff done. Unfortunately, that second wind is high cortisol and your body does not like that at night. So, since our minds and bodies love consistency, you also want to develop a bedtime routine that can be helpful. It really doesn't matter what you do as long as it's non stressful and can be replicated every night so that your body's getting that signal that it needs to go to bed. You could take a bath. Some people meditate. Some people drink tea. Whatever works for you. Now, if you're having chronic sleep issues, something I want you to think about is to exercise in the morning rather than at night. Exercise raises those cortisol levels as well. So if you are exercising at night, your body thinks that it's the time to be awake, not asleep. So keep that in mind. Now, next, we're going to talk about mitochondria. They're these amazing little powerhouses of energy. And where all the steroid hormones are produced by the adrenals are made. Now, adrenal hormone production can drop off significantly because of impaired or damaged mitochondria. So, inflammation can do this. Chronic stress can even damage mitochondria. And when get damaged, they don't produce energy or adrenal hormones optimally. Now, 90% of our cellular energy is produced by the mitochondria. They're cellular powerhouses. And they're the bedrock of good health. If they're not happy, we're not happy. And so we need to constantly renew them. They need to be constantly renewed so they can produce that energy and fulfill the vast energy demands that our muscles, skin, tissues, everything needs. As we get older, mitochondrial renewal declines and dysfunctional mitochondria accumulate in the cells, resulting in significant issues. But here's the thing. Age-associated mitochondrial decline leads to all these crazy things that I'm fixing to talk about. But that decline starts at 30 years old. That is not old, but that's when our mitochondria gets old. So if you're 30 years or older and you're listening to this, we need to work on your mitochondria, okay? And we do that through something called mitophagy, which we're fixing to talk about in just a second. So, but think about this. When we have this age-associated mitochondria decline, right? everything starts declining. Our metabolism, our energy levels, our resiliency, our skin health, and even our muscle function. Okay, so we need to take care of these mitochondria through mitophagy. Now, mitophagy is basically cleans up defective mitochondria and allows the mitochondria to repair themselves and improve their performance. So, like they're redoing themselves, they're coming out a new person. This recycling and cleansing mechanism is proven to be very valuable for our health. And so what okay, so we know what it does, so how can we make it happen? Like, what can we do to activate our mitophagia? So here's a couple of things. First one is when we eat, it takes a lot of energy. And so our body is pulling energy from other stores in our body and putting it into our digestive system. So most of us eat all day long, right? And some of us eat up until we go to bed. Some of us even eat in the middle of the night. And then as soon as we wake up in the morning, we start eating again. Well, that doesn't give our body much time to put energy into other things like activating our mitophagy. So put 12 hours between your dinner and breakfast. So say you're eating dinner at 6 p.m., you're going to have breakfast 6 a.m. or later. That gives your body a half a day to really work on cleaning up this mitophagy, this mitochondria, and doing all the other things it needs to do because it's not working on digesting your food. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, another thing you do, and we talked about it already, is eating protein at every meal. But I did want to mention that the Institute for Functional Medicine has this great resource, and it's called Mitochondria Food Plan. And I'm going to discuss some of the foods that they have on that, but I want you to DM me if you'd like more details on that food plan because I can send it to you. Now, I sound a lot like a broken record when I say protein, 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 but it helps stabilize that blood sugar, which is important for brain health. And this in turn minimizes hunger and cravings too. And you kind of want to get protein at every meal, not just that first one. We need more protein than we think we need. Now, the mitochondria actually require fatty acids from fats to work. So a fat deficient diet is not going to help your mitochondria, but you want good quality fats. So right here on the screen, you see salmon. Salmon is a great source of protein and a great source of fat. So healthy meal right there. Salmon's awesome. Other things you can think about are avocados, like I talked about earlier, olives, and olive oil. Great sources of really good fats. And always, like we always talk about, colorful vegetables and fruits, they are great sources of phytonutrients, antioxidants, and phytonutrients and antioxidants actually help support healthy levels of inflammation. Again, because we remember we want to keep that inflammation down. So beyond diet, let's talk about supplements for just a second. Actually, no, I want to go to lifestyle first. Lifestyle actually changes can support the circadian balance. Like we were talking about earlier, the light in the morning, dark at night. That helps mitochondria as well. Isn't it amazing? It's all kind of connected, right? And so when we do that, when we have the light in the morning, the dark at night, it allows us to make more of the hormone melatonin, which helps preserve mitochondrial function. And light helps the mitochondria make more energy, just like it does with plants. It's so fascinating. So now I wanted to talk about supplements, but real quickly, I do need to say that these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA, and it's not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. There's something called urethylene A. It's a molecule that stimulates crucial recycling and cleaning process, this mitophagy that we just discussed. And this urethylene A ultimately protects from age-associated decline, which we talked about starts at just 30. So if you're interested in the supplement, you should check out Timeline Nutrition. Again, not an affiliate, just a fan. They have something called MitoPure, and it's listed right on the end of this slide. And MitoPure you can get it in a capsule or a powder, and it is amazing stuff. But it isn't quick. I do want to mention that. Working on the mitochondria can take about 3 months because our body works in 3-month cycles, but on a root cause problem. Does that make sense? So we can make some changes to really get you some energy quick, but to have lifelong energy to really get that mitochondria going, it's going to take about 3 months. But you're going to get the benefits of healthy aging, muscle health, performance. And if you go to MitoPure's site, it's Timeline Nutrition. They have some really good science on there to back it up. Now, something else you may want to look at is magnesium. Almost everybody is deficient in magnesium. particularly if you're stressed out. Magnesium is probably just flowing out of you, but it helps mitochondrial repair damage as well. And it's because it's caused by stress, and magnesium is so good for stress. It also optimizes the production of energy. But keep in mind, if you get too much magnesium, it can cause diarrhea. So just start slow with the magnesium and then work your way up. Now, I'm probably going to say something next that you're not expecting. But exercise is something that we actually may need to be careful with. We know that movement helps our bodies heal. We don't want you to be a couch potato. But in times of adrenal stress, the wrong type of movement can actually make our adrenal dysfunction worse. So the type of exercise is dependent on what stage of adrenal dysfunction you're in. Now, that's not something you can necessarily figure out on your own. You may need to talk to your healthcare provider or me or somebody like that to help you figure out what stage you're in. But generally speaking, if you feel calmer and more relaxed after aerobic activity like biking or walking, then you're probably okay and you probably can keep doing that. But if you're feeling more tired after aerobic exercise, that's a sign that it's probably too intense and you need to back up. So, say you're running, you may want to go to walking. And you also need to think about what kind of tired. I mean, sometimes you're just tired after a good workout, but you'll know the difference between like tired and, oh my goodness, you can't move the next day kind of thing. So, also make sure on strength building, you want to be careful about that. So I actually have them listed on the screen here in the order that we could kind of start. So you want to start with just light stretching first. See how that goes. Do that for a couple of weeks, see where you're at. Then maybe go to yoga and add a little walking in. Yoga first, and then when you feel good, add a little walking in. And then if you're feeling strong, you can go to Pilates because that is a strength training. It's body weight strength training, but it's still strength training. And then if you get through the Pilates and you're really wanting to go work out with weights, you can, and then you can start running. But you want to kind of go through this process and make sure that your body is ready for it because they're already stressed out and we do not want to stress them out anymore. But don't forget, we don't want you to be a couch potato too. None of this stuff says sit around. You can get movement by just walking around your house. During commercials, get up and move around. It's only 30 seconds or an hour, a minute. What am I saying? A minute and 30 seconds. Just, walk around the house, get some movement. Find your local yoga studio. They'll have like beginning yoga. If you can't get out of the house, if you work at home, things like that, there's an app called Fit On, and they have all kinds of available exercises, anything you can think of, and it's free. And I particularly like their restorative yoga. It's like you can get it at any level of minutes or in any level, like if you're beginner or advanced. And I love their 10-minute restorative. That's my favorite yoga they have. But they have all kinds of stuff on there. So check that out for sure. Now we're going to bottom line to have more energy. You're going to drink more water with lemon and salt before eating and drinking anything else. You're going to add some electrolytes in. That's the bonus, remember? You're going to eat proteins with your first meal and really all meals. I'm going to eat that real food, okay? Use that site I gave you to see what kind of food you're eating. Get that light in the morning and let it be dark at night. Try to go that 12 hours between dinner and breakfast and see how that feels. And then ease into exercise, okay? So those are your bottom line to have more energy. Now, if you know someone who needs this information but's not going to watch this webinar because it's too long for them, send them to my website. I have an 8-minute pod there. It's a private pod, and it's called 3 Actionable Tips to Have More Energy. You can also reach out to me on socials. I'm at Alt Health Angel on Instagram and Facebook. And you can find me at Alternative Health with Angel on YouTube. That's where all my videos live. I've got just a few on there now, but I'm making more as we go along. I provide alternative health memberships, 3x4 genetics, hair tissue mineral analysis, which I spoke of earlier. I also do some functional education on labs. I just want to speak just a moment on that. So when you go to the doctor to say, get your thyroid checked, they normally check like one component of that thyroid when they should have taken like 6. So that's the first kind of thing. This happens with a lot of different tests, not just thyroid. Something else about that is then once you get the test back, you look at it and you're like, well, I'm in the normal, but I still feel horrible. Well, their normals are actually for looking for disease, where when I'm looking at something, I'm looking for optimal health. So that's when you're doing some functional educational labs. You're looking at things saying, where can this person be on optimal health? And can we get them there? And sometimes you're there and sometimes you're not. But you can let me be your alternative health concierge and I can help you get there. So are there any questions? I have somebody that's going to send me texts if there's any questions. I'm going to pull out of here so you can see me. Let's see, where are we at? There we go. All right. All righty. Any questions? And if you don't feel comfortable asking questions, I completely understand because, like everybody, this is a public forum. Please go to my website, alternativehealthwithangel.com, and my email is on there. You can DM me, Instagram, or you can't really get me through YouTube. Ways to get me. You can either way email me directly or through that. All right, let's see. All right, looks like we're all good. So I'm sure some of you are going to be getting in touch with me when I do these. It seems like that always happens. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions, let me know and talk to y'all later.